Hi everyone, this is Sam from solar.com, and today we are going to talk about California's new net metering policy, NEM 3.0. Now we're going to break this video into three sections. First one, we'll talk about the changes from NEM 2 to NEM 3. Then we'll talk about the savings difference of having a solar system under NEM 2 and a solar system under NEM 3. And finally, we'll talk about how to grandfather a solar system into NEM 2 before that deadline hits on April 13th, 2023. So let's dive in with a recap of what's new under NEM 3. Now, the biggest change from NEM 2 to NEM 3 is in export rates. And this refers to the value of your excess solar electricity that you push onto the grid. In other words, it's how much your utility credits you for producing more electricity than you use. Under NEM 2, export rates were based on retail rates, which is what you pay for electricity. So if the cost of electricity was 30 cents per kilowatt hour, then the credit for your exports was also 30 cents per kilowatt hour. Now under NEM 3, export rates will be based on the avoided cost calculator, which is basically a fancy term for what your electricity is worth to the grid at the time it's exported. So that means you could earn 6 cents per kilowatt hour at 8 a.m. In February, and then later you could earn 21 cents per kilowatt hour at 8 p.m. in September. On average, export rates under NEM 3 will be around 8 cents per kilowatt hour, which is about a 75% reduction from the average rate under NEM 2. So you're probably wondering what's with the change. Well, at least part of the reasoning behind NEM 3 was to encourage California homeowners to pair battery storage with their solar. That's because solar electricity peaks around the middle of the day when the sun is high, but energy demand peaks in the afternoon when the sun is down and people come home to turn on their ACs, their TVs, and whatnot. So now that we have a basic understanding of what's coming in NEM 3, let's talk about how this will impact California solar owners. So because of the major reduction in export rates, payback periods are going to be longer and overall savings are going to go lower under NEM 3 than they were under NEM 2. Now exactly how much this changes is going to vary from system to system. So we crunched the numbers on an average 7.6 kilowatt system based on a cash purchase and a previous electricity bill around $250 a month. As you can see, the payback period increases by 2 years, and the overall savings decreases by over $40,000 over the life of the system. So yes, payback periods will be longer and lifetime savings are going to be lower under NEM 3. But here's a quick side note. I recently went solar in Washington State, and I would still die for the savings and payback period of going solar in California under NEM 3. Going solar in California, even when NEM 3 takes effect, is a no-brainer when it comes to cost savings. However, it does look a lot less attractive compared to NEM 2. So now let's talk about how to get your system into NEM 2 before that April 13th deadline for NEM 3. First off, I should mention that NEM 3 is not retroactive. That means that if you already have solar, you'll remain under your existing policy for 20 years from the date that you got permission to turn on from your utility. If you don't already have solar, there's still time as of shooting this video to start a solar project and get grandfathered into NEM 2 before NEM 3 takes effect on April 13th, 2023. And let's walk through the steps and some tips on how to do that. Okay, so tip number 1 is to go out and get multiple quotes from reputable installers as soon as possible. This is the first step to any solar project, but time is of the essence here, so the sooner you can do it, the better. One way to save time is to do it right on solar.com, where we've pre-vetted all the installers, and you can use one design to generate dozens of quotes. We'll bring you the best 3, and then you pick and you're off to the races after that. Now tip number 2 is to ask the magic question. Now once you have quotes from your installers, you're going to ask each of them this: are you prepared to submit the documents for grandfathering into NEM 2 early in the solar process? Now this is key because in order to be grandfathered into NEM 2, you need to submit a complete and valid interconnection application before April 13th, 2023. Now, typically interconnection applications were submitted after install, which can take 3 to 5 months. But in response to NEM 3, many installers are moving that early in the process, and you're able to grandfather a system in before you even install it. So if your installer can submit that paperwork early, go for it. If they say no, if they're waiting to the end of the install, it's probably not going to happen in time, and I'd move on to the next installer. Tip number 3 is to match the name on your interconnection paperwork exactly with how it shows up on your utility bill. One hang-up that we've seen in the past is that if the name on the application is different from the energy bill somehow, that can lead to some back and forth and delays, which you don't want to have. So make sure your installer puts the same exact name, initials, whatever it is, on your interconnection application as it shows up on your electricity bill from your utility. Tip number 4 is to request and save emails from your utility company. Now, your installer is going to submit your interconnection paperwork, and they'll get emails back from your utility confirming submission. What you should do is ask your installer to forward you those emails from your utility company so you can save and document the process yourself. And what you're going to look for is one of 3 phrases that confirm submission based on your utility provider. If you're PG&E, the magic words are sent for review. If you're an SCE customer, the magic words are deemed valid. And if you're an SDG&E customer, the magic words are pending AHJ. Now, the email containing one of these 3 phrases is your evidence that your installer submitted your interconnection application on time, and it's essentially your golden ticket to NEM 2.0. Now, the bottom line is NEM 3 is approved and headed our way, whether we like it or not. And that April 13th deadline is coming up quick, but there is still time to get your interconnection application in before that deadline. And the first step, as we mentioned, is go get multiple solar quotes as soon as you can. And the fastest way to do that is through solar.com. So click the link below, answer a few questions. We'll get you matched up with an energy advisor, get some quotes in your hands, and get you rolling as soon as you can. Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.